Hello, this is Fred at the gate with today's devotional. As you have an opportunity, please read the fourth chapter of Philippians, verses 10 through 13. And I want to talk to you today about living between anyhow and somehow. As believers, it is really important for us to understand that. And it's not about what you have, what you don't have, what you're going through, what you're not going through. You have to remain faithful and obedient to God anyhow, and you will discover He will make a way somehow. Now, in this text that I've given you, the Apostle Paul is letting the Philippian church know, I rejoice in the fact that you all have helped me in the past with the ministry. And there were times when you wanted to help, but you didn't have the opportunity. But now you're helping again, and I appreciate that. But the Apostle Paul says this one thing. He says, I've learned to be content in whatever my circumstances are. He says, I know what it's like to have it all, and I know what it's like to have nothing. But I've learned to be content. And see, we like to quote that 13th verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's true. However, we have to, before we get to the 13th verse, we have to share what Paul says in these previous verses about being content. See, when you are faithful and obedient to God anyhow, He will always make a way somehow. The thing is this, in order to live in that place between anyhow and somehow, you can't rely on man's possessions. Paul was appreciative of what they were able to do for him, but he knew it was not contingent upon whether they did it or not. He was content because he also knew he was standing on God's promises. And so when God promises, He will deliver. Paul knew this better than anybody. He continued to be faithful and obedient. He was shipwrecked. He was in prison. He was beaten. I mean, all of these things happened, but God was there for him, and God continued to provide for him, continue to deliver him all the way through. And then you have to understand that you're operating through God's power. That's how you can do all things through Christ. You have the power to endure. You have the power to withstand. And see, God will meet all of your needs according to His glorious riches. That's what it says in the 19th verse of this chapter. But understand this. He will meet all your needs. Sometimes what you need is not what you think you need. It's not the finances. It's not the hookup. Sometimes what you need is the courage to stand and face a difficult situation. Sometimes what you need is not to be coddled. Sometimes what you need is to be told the truth in love, but told the truth so that you're not operating in irresponsibility or self-destructive behavior. My brothers and sisters, learn to live between anyhow and somehow. If we continue to be faithful and obedient to God anyhow, despite what our circumstances are, what we have, what we don't have, He will continue to make a way somehow.